on in the room. Come on in the room. The Bucks win it 118-93 tonight over the Oklahoma City Thunder. Come on in the room. Doc is our doctor. He writes out all the scriptures. He gives us our medicine in our room. We are live. The Cream City crossovers, the Guru Trey Crosby III.
JT.
Chris King.
Yes, sir. We all in the building here. Again, big win tonight over the Oklahoma City Thunder. 118-93. The Bucks absolutely dominated this matchup. NBA TV, prime time on a Sunday evening, if you will. And you have all the stars available. Giannis, Chris, Damian Lillard, all of them available, active, ready to go. On the other side, you got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, MVP candidate. You got Chet Holmgren, Rookie of the Year candidate. The guys didn't show up. They did not show up. They got absolutely punked. The Milwaukee Bucks looked like it's a belt to ass tour. It continued. The Milwaukee Bucks looked like a team, and we've talked about this before, right? A veteran basketball team, and they looked like we've talked about younger teams like the Pacers and teams that can run them up and down the floor, right? And you thought maybe that would happen with the Oklahoma City team, a youthful, energetic basketball team. And the Milwaukee Bucks absolutely took them to school, 118-93. You had to love what you saw from Milwaukee Bucks. Get at me on the Twitter at TCIIIESQ. And then in the chat, what's up, chat? Also, get at me in the YouTube chat as well. We'll get into it. But first, as always, we have to do our game recap. Sponsors always by who?
The law office of Daly M. Johnson. When you need defense off the court.
Well, you need defense off the court. And again, we always talk about, did you get some defense on the court? Well, tonight the Bucks got defense on the court, as well as they hold another opponent under 100 points. But yes, when you need defense off the court, you call the law office of Daly M. Johnson, serving Central and South Central Wisconsin, criminal defense, injunction defense, traffic and OWI defense, all the type of defense you need. You call Daly M. Johnson, 608-893-8370. Go to his website. Yes, sir. Go to his website, www.dmjlaw.com. Sign up for a free phone or in-person consultation. I'm fired up, ready to go after a big-time dub for the Milwaukee Bucks, 118-93. Let's do the recap. Giannis, 30, 19, and 4. Big time game for him. I wanted to get that Barbara Walters. I wanted that 2020, that Dateline 2020 game. It comes up just short, 1 rebound short. 13 of 18, 4 of 6 from the line. He was a +7 tonight. Brook Lopez in 22 minutes, 14 points, 3 boards, 2 assists, 5 for 11. I thought he was good even in limited minutes. Chris Middleton goes 27 minutes tonight. You know what he did in 27 minutes?
Triple-double.
That man messed around and got a triple-double. I don't know if you saw Doc Rivers. So he had 9 points, and Doc called it like 3 minutes ago. Doc calls a timeout. And I thought it was kind of playful, but Chris is like, yo, come on, I need another bucket. It was so funny to me because Mike Budenholzer, Jason Kidd, not really see Aiden Griffin. He didn't have enough time to really show us. But Mike Budenholzer and Jason Kidd were like 2 coaches that like you really couldn't do that with. Like they didn't care about those stats. Like if you were a rebound, a point, and assist away, short of your triple-double and whatever mark you wanted to hit, sorry, that was it. But Doc Rivers showing he is a player's coach. Puts Chris back in. Chris Middleton knocks down a jump shot, gets his triple-double. Your boy, Malik Beasley, 8 points, 2 rebounds. He had a slightly rough night to start, but then he hit a couple threes as the night went on. And then Damian Lillard, 11 points to start off, 1 for 8. I think it was 1 for 8 at halftime. He had 11, 6, and 5 assists, 4 of 12 from the field. So again, rough shooting night, but I thought defensively, I thought ball movement, I thought passing the ball, I thought playmaking, I thought Damian Lillard was good, even though he did not shoot the ball well. But it was that conversation we talked about before, gentlemen, where we say, okay, if you have a bad shooting night, do I have to take you out of the game? And Damian Lillard, even though he had a bad shooting night, he didn't make me want to take him out because he did everything else correctly, right? He had 1 turnover. Now, only drawback on Chris, he did have 10 assists. He had 5 turnovers. So he was rough handling the ball. 16 points, 6 boards for Bobby Portis. He was 7 of 13 from the field. I'm not mad. I think at 15 and 6, my bad. Jay Crowder with 10 points. Perfect from him. 4 of 4. from the field. So a great job for Jay Crowder. He looks like a guy who has finally recovered from that injury and is now shooting the ball well. You like to see that. Pat Connaughton was all over the floor tonight, 11 points. He was 5 for 9. I thought he played great defense, a lot of hustle, a lot of energy. Patrick Beverly, 1.4 boards, 4 assists. Another guy all over the floor, a lot of energy, a lot of hustle. And then you had the usual suspects who came in for the last 4 or 5 minutes in garbage time. But again, I'm just looking down the line. I don't think I have anything negative to say about any of the 10 guys who actually played for the Bucks. This is a dominating performance tonight. You go to OKC, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, they call him an MVP candidate. What do you say about that, Chris? What'd you say?
Overrated. You gotta hit the chant.
Overrated. I didn't say it. Chris King is telling me that your boy Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is overrated. 12 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, just suffocating defense. 5 for 12. So he shot it. He was just bad tonight. Josh Giddey, 19 points is about the age. That's about what he liked. 19 points.
Did you go full on age of consent?
I'm just saying that's Josh Giddey. He hit that number. I don't need any more than that. 19 about all I can handle. So Josh Giddey gonna stay right there at 19 points. J-Dub with 18, 3 and 4. Lou Dort with 7 points. Chet Holmgren. You talk about the guys who had a bad night. Chet Holmgren was punked by Bobby Portis. He was punked by Giannis. I mean, dunking over him, laying up over him. Bobby did the too small over him. They sent a message to Chet Holmgren tonight that you're not ready. This is not. I know you're in the race for Rookie of the Year, but this is a man's league. This is the NBA. No boys allowed. And right now, you're a little boy. You're not ready to play with us. They showed them that. They absolutely did. 6 points, 4 boards, 1 for 10 from the field. He looked like he was out of his league, out of his element. Gordon Hayward. Yeah, you know how many points Gordon Hayward had?
So.
Just like me and you sitting down here, no points at all. Jay Williams, nothing. Isaiah Joe has 6 points. But yeah, their bench was bad. Oklahoma City was not good. And again, I'll say this, and I'll let you guys have it and weigh in. The first half was great defensively. Outside of for the Bucks, there was one little stretch late in the first half that allowed Oklahoma City to close and only stay and keep it to a 1-point game. In the second half, I mean, listen, the Bucks absolutely swarmed them. There were no quarters that Oklahoma City had over 30 points. They had a 29-point fourth quarter, which again, that was garbage time. The Bucks had 34 points and 36 in the third and the fourth, so they beat them every single quarter. This was a dominating win for the Milwaukee Bucks over the number 1 seed in the Western Conference. Don't you forget it. Listen, maybe the best defensive performance from the year. I thought the Bucks did a lot of what we call fly switching, right? Where guys are coming at them, you switch off the ball handler, and somebody else grabs him, and you go to the open guy. They did all of that very, very well. Doc Rivers, like he had those guys well coached. This was the best coach game of the year for the Milwaukee Bucks, the best defensive game, and even on a night where Damian Lillard only puts up 11 points. On most of those nights, you're going to struggle. The Bucks won this game convincingly over the Oklahoma City Thunder. Good things to come. The Bucks have been playing well on this side of the All-Star break. That's what I saw. JT, what did you see?
Well, look, let's start with that first half. I think both sides, right? You had some aspects of both teams that collectively stunk, right? Neither one of these teams could break, 30% from 3 in that first half. I think one Bucks starter even made a 3-pointer, and that was Brook Lopez going 2 for 4. Conversely, on the other side, right, your boy SGA, that man had 7 points. I think Chet Holmgren had 2, right? Those two combined for 10 points in the first half. Well, it was bad as well. Now, second half, bit of a different story. Like you said, took that belt out, went full on belt to ass. I know the Thunder had 17 points in the third quarter, right? That's abysmal. It's absolutely embarrassing. And you like to see that, right? Because you see the Bucks where there was a time where this game literally could have been a push. It could have gone either way. And the Bucks just said, you know what? Nope, we're going belt to ass and foot on the gas in that third quarter. And that's exactly what you saw. Another thing that I want to point out, right? Bucks bench, right? So before I do that, tonight, almost everybody on the Bucks team scored a point. I think the only person who didn't score a point was Andre Jackson Jr., only person who did not get a bucket, right? I know that's kind of a little league feeling like, yeah, everybody gets a score. But how about that, right? Almost every single guy on this team got a bucket, right? Another observation.
Everybody earned their orange slice from Team Mom.
Yes, sir. Right. Capri Sun. Let's get it. That's right. That's right. Right. So another point I want to make tonight, right? And because I absolutely love this. We got 44 points from the bench tonight. Now, I understand there were some garbage minutes in there as well, but 44 points from our bench is incredibly strong. We had 3 players on the bench in double figures, right? And that's Pat Connaughton, that's Jay Crowder, and that's Bobby Portis. That's probably not going to happen every night, but you definitely love to see it when you're getting the type of contribution from your squad. There's no doubt about that, right? But the last thing too that I want to talk about, right? You talk about Chris Middleton's been back a week and some change at this point, and coming back and having a triple double, right? 11, 10, and 10, great for his confidence. And Chris Middleton's looked well. He's looked very good since he's been back. And then Giannis going 30 and 19 tonight, right? And I think we as Bucks fans, we are a tad bit spoiled when it comes to Giannis because Giannis goes 30 and 15, Giannis goes 30, and it's a collective yawn from this fan base, right? So I'm going to make this point now. I don't know where Giannis is on the Kia NBA MVP ladder. I try not to look at it because I think sometimes the analysis on there is a bit silly. But if he's not top 2, somebody's not watching. Somebody's not paying attention because this man has shown up night in and night out and just does this, right? Like, this is nothing. Like, this isn't even anything to get excited about. Like, oh, Giannis is 30 and 19. Oh, that's it, right? Like, I mean, seriously, like, there's no way. It is absolutely criminal if Giannis is not top 2 in the Kia NBA MVP voting right now.
I think it's a statement win when you talk about, the MVP race as well, with Shea being on that other side and Giannis being a guy that's in at least the top 3. So a statement win there. But not only just that, a statement win for the team. This is a top 3, top 4 team in the West, a team that's pretty much stayed there throughout the whole season and has played really good basketball. And you just, like Trey said earlier, he was texting in the group chat, we punked them. Flat out punked him. Giannis gave Chet welcome to the NBA moment in transition. Bumped him, got the dunk in the M1. That was dope to see. Obviously, some things in the first half that they needed to clean up. They did that, and that's why you saw the results you did. Because OKC and the Bucks kind of felt like they were trading just missed easy buckets, and ultimately it was the Milwaukee Bucks who came out in the second half, maintained that same level of defense, and then upped the ante on the offense. So it was a great top to bottom performance. I'll speak on this right now. The defense that we were able to throw out on them, I know we'll talk about that a little later, but just in terms of what we did, we one-on-one with Shea, it looked like, and Pat Connaughton did a tremendous job because Shea is a guy who normally sets the tone in that first quarter, plays pretty much the whole first quarter, and Pat didn't let him get anything easy, made it tough on him. And this bag that everybody says he has, I just don't see it. I think he does a lot of his work at the free throw line, and we didn't allow him to do that as much today. And he also didn't make the shots that he might normally make, but we contested it really well. So I thought we did a great job there. Brook was on tonight from 3. He was Splash Mountain. That's what you love to see. And then ultimately, when you bring in Giannis and Chris and Dame, finally all 3 back, I thought that looked really good today. So that's it.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, only drawback I think from those 3 was with 2 drawbacks: Dame shooting, and then the turnovers that Chris had. But yeah, outside of that, I thought they all complement each other very well, and it's something you think about when Chris Middleton can put up 10 assists on the floor and not be the primary ball handler. And again, he has racked up a number of assists every time he's been out there. So again, he did a great job. Chris, to your point there, you talk about the suffocating defense from the Bucks. The OKC ends up shooting 37% from the field as a team, 23% from 3. So the Bucks, I think you're right. They contested everything. And again, you have to do some of that. And again, we'll talk about this defense, but so this team, they did in the last few days they had off. They had 3 practices, and shout out to Andrew, producer 973, giving me this information. Told me that, and I think it came from somebody else from the Journal Sentinel. But instead of doing a shoot around this morning, the Milwaukee Bucks instead did a walkthrough practice. So again, we have to keep stating it over and over again. We talk about Doc Rivers, who has not had a ton of time with this basketball team. You have to, when you get those opportunities to practice and you get some time off, you've got to take advantage of it. And again, this is like a team that was locked in. Like I said, Doc Rivers, he outcoached the guy who's probably going to be the coach of the year this year. So again, from top to bottom, it was just a really, really good game, clean game outside a couple turnovers, and just fundamentally sound on the defensive end. And that's what you want to see. And again, I give credit to Malik Beasley. You said Pat Connaughton. Literally everybody out there did a great job. And even Bobby Portis. Like, I thought, again, guys sliding their feet, moving their feet. And when you again, so like talk about a little bit about the fly switching. When you when you have a team that's well connected and they're communicating better and they know where everybody's supposed to be, it makes it so much easier. And that's what we're starting to see from this basketball team. And again, we're going to see because I believe the next game they have is I believe the next game is the Lakers. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's the Lakers.
Okay, so they got LA next on Tuesday night. That was a team you just gave up 40, was it 44 to D'Angelo Russell in the last and at the end
No
of the
LeBron.
game, right, with no LeBron, all of that, right? So we'll see when LA comes to town. Can you carry on that momentum defensively that you did here? And John Tyus, remember we talked about what was your phrase from early in the season? The best defense is what?
Another made 3-pointer.
Yeah, well, that and I remember us distinctively talking about the identity of this basketball team under Adrian Griffin had changed from the Mike Budenholzer era where you had good defensive. The identity of this basketball team early in the year, and this is so crazy to me because they had, I mean, you could almost say they didn't have an identity, but if they had one, it was they're gonna shoot you out the gym. They're gonna put up 140 points every night, and you have to find a way to score 145 or 141 when we put up 140, right? That was the identity. This thing has shifted. Doc Rivers, say what we want about Doc, but Doc Rivers has 100% instilled the effort and mentality of a good defensive team. And now instead of hoping, hey, let's score 140 and try to hold them to 139, you're going to see playoff games. You're going to see games where you can win them now. I'm just going based off what I've seen, especially post All-Star break. The Milwaukee Bucks can win games now and have bad offensive nights because their defense maybe is that. And let me ask you. Let me ask it instead. Am I going too far in saying that? I'm saying that I've seen enough that I believe that on bad, like tonight, Dame Lillard 11 points. Almost not early. That's a loss. Early season, that's a loss. But Dame Lillard with 11 points tonight, you're still able to hold OKC and win that game. Am I correct in saying that I can see this team being able to withstand and sustain bad offensive performances because the defense is now, I don't want to use the term fixed, but it's so much better than it was that you're going to be able to play high-level defense and beat teams. Is that a correct statement or incorrect?
So when you say, bad offensive nights, right? Let's go ahead and we got to qualify that a little bit, right?
Okay.
By bad offensive nights, right? I'm not talking about absolutely stink up the joint. I'm talking about bad by Bucks standards, right? Because it's important to make that differentiation, right? Because tonight you had 7 guys in double figures. You scored 118 points. Dame Lillard really didn't help you a whole lot offensively as well, right? That's quote unquote a bad night, right? But again, overall, that's not a terrible offensive night. You see what I'm saying? Like it's not you didn't put up a 90 burger, right? You didn't put up 80 something points, right? So I want to qualify it there, and I want to say that I think that this Bucks team has so much offensive talent, right? And there's so many guys on this Bucks team that can get a bucket. That yes, I 100% agree with you that even if guys are just not playing well overall, right? Or you have a couple guys who are underwhelming or just underperforming. I agree. The defensive adjustment that Doc's made, it's going to mitigate for some of that, right? You don't need to have a historic offensive output night in and night out like you did earlier this year, right? When we talked about, the Bucks are the number 7 offense of all time, technically, right? Looking at the stats earlier in the season. So yeah, I do agree, and I think Doc deserves a lot of credit for that. He certainly does. He's put this team in position to find ways to win, and it's not, my favorite, which is another made 3-pointer.
Yeah, I think definitely the defense is improved under Doc Rivers. And you talk about some of these young teams that we faced under Adrian Griffin that pretty much just got in shootouts with us. We were always, getting on the perimeter defense and the straight line drives. And they took some of that away tonight. And you're seeing the adjustments. And I know we'll get into what exact adjustments we saw for that kind of allowed them to get this win. But other than that, yeah, I just think that it's clearly better. And it is definitely a plus to have going towards playoff time because this team can beat you in so many ways. And it might not be defense on one night. It might be outscoring a team on one night because they can't miss. But as long as you have these different ways of neutralizing some of these opponents, it's always good.
That's a good way to put it. You want to have the tools in the bag. You want to be you don't want to you don't want to show up to the job and all you got is a wrench, right? I need all the tools for whatever job I might have to face. And again, against OKC it might be one thing, against the Lakers it may be another, against Boston I might have to have something else in my bag to pull out. So that's a great point. And JT, to your point, when you talk about qualifying what it is. Right. Well, 100. And no, I agree with you. Was it 118 points and what the Bucks did? No, that's not a bad offensive night at all. But we've seen where in the past 100 you could have decent offensive night and 118 that might not be enough because the other team is getting 125 and it could be even bad teams were able to put up points. And so again, if you're holding teams under 100 points, especially a team like the Oklahoma City Thunder, they just ran. There's no way around it. Oklahoma City just ran to a buzzsaw tonight, especially defensively. They ran into a defensive buzzsaw, and that's what the Milwaukee Bucks were. Again, we talked about it. It was a belt-to-ass moment all throughout. And again, it just made you feel good, and I think it gives you a lot of confidence, especially coming off of that Boston game. Somebody said, and I'll talk about it in the Twitter comments, that maybe the game's not traveling as well because Doc Rivers on the road has not. I mean, again, that's most teams has not been as good as he has been at home, and so the Bucks have to figure that out because you will again if you play Boston, you're going to be a 2 seed, and we'll probably talk about that in a little bit later in the show too about again because I'm just looking at the standings. It's pretty clear now that it's probably most likely. Let me say it's most likely going to be either Indiana, Miami, or Philly. You've had trouble with 2 of those teams. Indiana, you had trouble with Indiana this year. You've had trouble with Miami that's going back to the bubble now, right? And then, of course, Philadelphia probably have Joel Embiid back at some point. So that's probably what it's going to look like in the first-round matchup, but I'll address that later. But, again, this should give you a ton of confidence, right? This type of a win over a very good opponent. Because, and again, we talk about that too. The Milwaukee Bucks, they seem to have played very well against good opponents, and that's the mark of a good basketball team. So again, I just came away from tonight watching this game impressed. Giannis looked as healthy as I've seen him in a week or so, jumping over guys and dunking the ball and doing all of those things. And then again, the buy-in and guys doing the little things. Damian Lillard, and I want to talk about this too for a second before we get to the chat and some of the comments. So we've and this has been talked about a bit, right? That the NBA sent out a memo, I believe it was early January, for officials to stop calling fouls the way they've called them, right? And to the memo, I may bring it up when you talk, JT, but it was in essence, it has kind of correlated with how we don't think Damian Lillard gets the calls he should get, and they have let a lot of things go. They want defense, they want the physicality to pick up. And again, while that may be a negative for a guy like Damian Lillard, when I look at the Bucks defenders, Giannis is a handsy guy. Patrick Beverley is a menace and a pest. Jay Crowder is a defensive, it can defensively get into you. And when I talk about Damian Lillard getting blown by or Malik Beasley getting blown by, Damian Lillard has shown us through the last few games that he can he'll stick his hand in there. And if they're not calling those fouls like at the rate that they used to call them, the Bucks can be more physical. I actually think that helps the Milwaukee Bucks. I know people are upset about how that has hurt Damian Lillard and his attempts to get to the line, but as a whole, I think the rule change benefits a physical team like the Milwaukee Bucks as long as they go out and they're not afraid to throw the first punch.
Right, it 100% does. I agree with you, right? And I think that the game has become a lot more physical. I am glad that you're not seeing the calls. Both sides aren't getting the calls most of the time. So yeah, and I think this benefits this Bucks team for a couple of reasons. I think the first reason is because you have a lot of guys who are just talented defenders out there, and I think it's a bit discouraging when you start seeing these ticky-tack calls. You start seeing these questionable calls happening. Guys are getting into foul trouble early. But the other thing is that with this Bucks team, I think for a lot of times, right? Yes, I don't think Damian Lillard's ever going to be an elite defender, right? Neither is Malik Beasley, right? Neither is Pat Connaughton. We can go down a laundry list, right? But when we talk about how much of this was an attitude versus an aptitude issue, and we talk about that adjustment and what Doc has instilled, I'm seeing effort, right? And effort is not getting called, and I'm cool with that. I'm good with that, right? I'm good with guys making a legitimate effort to play defense. Yes, there's a little bit of contact, but that's not getting called, right? I like it. I 100% like it, and I agree with you, Trey. It has been a net positive, and honestly, when you think about it like that, with the team, with the defensive prowess that the Bucks have, right? I think the numbers aren't great. We're 17th right now, and we've been somewhere between, I want to say, like 17 and 22 all season.
And I think post All-Star break, I think they're 10th post All-Star
Oh,
break.
okay, yeah.
So I may want to correct me, but yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
So post All-Star break, right? Which, I mean, you have to 100% look at it for what it's worth. Under Dr. Griffin, man, defense. I told you, what's our defense? It's another made three. Look, jack that thing on up there, right? And whereas tonight under Dr. Griffin, I mean, I can't
jack that thing on up there. Hey yo, pay your dues to the community. My goodness.
Right. But all right, man. As I lose my train of thought, who gonna hit me with the official pause?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, pause. I think. Well, hold on. I think that I think you lost your train of thought, and I got my train of thought, and it doesn't include jacking up threes.
All right, here we go.
Jacking them on up there. I do think the reputation of some of these players benefits from just the tighter whistle and not being able to call those kind of fouls, those tic-tac fouls, because we don't have these guys who are playing the guard position outside of Pat Beverly are not known for being defenders, and it allows them to at least play a little more physical and get away with a little more stuff. There was one instance where Dame clearly fouled Wiggins, I think it was, and they ended up getting a steal out of it because there was no call, and Dame was grabbing, clawing, fighting, got the steal. And that's just how you reap the benefits from that. We don't have the reputation of having these great guard defenders anymore. But if they're not calling them, hey, you might as well push it to the limit.
Let me read. Let me just make sure so we're factually accurate here. So Woj sent this out like March 15th. So in a meeting with the NBA's competition committee a couple weeks ago, the league office outlined an increased officiating focus on offensive players hunting out fouls and veering off pathways to the basket into defenders. Who on the Bucks does that sound like? That sounds a lot like Damian Lillard. Hunting fouls, veering off pathways into defenders. That used to be called, and Damian Lillard used to get to the line. Now the point of emphasis now is on offensive players hunting out fouls and veering off pathways into the basket, into defenders, and how those have impacted a decrease in league scoring. So league scoring is now starting to come down since that started. Those are outlined in January and February, the point of emphasis memos. And again, no doubt. And so I believe Damian Lillard, and they've talked about this before in a couple Bucks broadcasts, Damian Lillard is the number one player since February whose free throw attempts have gone down the most. He's averaging close to 4 less free throw attempts from January, February point until right now. So it's clearly affecting him. But the memo said that the league described itself as continuing to evaluate the state of offense versus defensive balance with the focus on legal guard position and level of contact on pathway plays to the basket. So again, so a point there is, again, the league is trying to prevent some of what we see, like the foul baiting and the foul hunting. Mm-hmm. We've seen some of that from, like I said, with Joel Embiid has not been playing since that took place. So I'd love to see what it looks like for him. But again, overall, I like it, and I guess my point is this should help the Bucks. It hurts Dame, but it should help the Bucks.
Well, think about it too. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who is pretty much known for that, 3 free throw attempts tonight, 3. So that just proves maybe his free throw numbers have stayed the same. I haven't been paying attention to his game log for the past couple games, but that was glaring tonight, just him only being able to get to the line 3 times.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So again, good stuff all around from the Bucks to win 118-93. Let's get to the chat a little bit. Gabe Hutton says, "Yes, sir. Way to school the youngins." Daniel Berry says, "Yo, everyone." Okay, yo, what up? James Henderson says, "Pat C and Crowder are playing well in Doc's system." State of Mind says, "Gallo even hit 3 out here." Yeah, I'm glad he was in. I'm glad that he was in garbage time. Brenda Word says, "Yeah, hey fellas, belt to ass tour continues." What's up, Brenda? Nas says OKC just too small. Jay Wan says the defense was great all night. OKC missed a lot of shots, but we played good defense. Again, I think it was more about the Bucks defense than it was about OKC missing shots. I really do. I thought the Bucks defense was good. They contested everything really. And again, Josh Giddey, we talked about him. We talked about him a bit early in the show. But I think the guy, and he hit his open shot, so I'll give him credit for it. But they purposefully, I'm not gonna say they left him open, but if there's a guy in that system, that starting group that you want to take the shots, Yeah, he's probably going to be the guy that gets the least amount of attention. Again, he kept it close, hitting his shots. You got a feeling that he's not going to be able to do that all night long, and he didn't. So again, great kudos in for doing it. Robert Henry says 2 seed, looking good for the Bucks right now. And then a couple more. Jaywan says Doc's line's looking better. I love it. And Al Farouk Amino says it was a blowout. If Dame is struggling, he will fall back and let the game come to him. He's a smart player. If he doesn't have it going, he will. I think he's saying defer, especially if the team is winning. Yeah, no, I think we've seen that all year long. That Dame will sometimes defer, and again, it works tonight because the Bucks playing some great defense. So you didn't necessarily need all of his scoring, but and I know there's some other talk in the chat about Damian Lillard not having a bad game. Again, I didn't say. I hope that wasn't in response to us. He did not have a bad game. He had a bad shooting night, and I think that's an important distinction to make. Because again, I thought he distributed the ball well. I thought he did a lot of good things. I thought his effort was high. He just didn't shoot the ball well. And again, some nights it'll be fine. But in fourth quarter, to his credit, he knocked down. I think that was when he knocked down his three. Mm-hmm. He might have hit a couple threes in the fourth. Hit a couple nice shots. Yeah, exactly. Right, exactly. So again, overall, a good night from everybody involved. And again, you just can't talk much better about how this team played and what they looked to do tonight, and they accomplished it 100% over a very good Oklahoma City Thunder basketball team.
Yeah, I mean, they did a tremendous job of putting both ends of the floor together. I think that they did a good job of getting out in transition, and that's when they're at their best, right, is just being able to get those stops and then running out, and then all of a sudden a 2-point game or a 1-point game at half when you're up, that goes to a 13, 14-point lead, and earlier on in the third. And so it's like, all right, you just sucked the life out of the OKC Thunder with that one. So
getting spicy.
No, but yeah, getting out transition was really good for this team as well. Just top to bottom, they were great, and I have no complaints.
Would 100% agree with that? Like minus the actual, was that a euphemism or anyway? I would agree with that. And the thing that, again, giving Doc credit, that first half was a bit sluggish for this Bucks team offensively. It was looking a little shaky, at times. But to come out that third quarter and literally, I mean, first half we scored 48 combined points. Second half we scored 70. Right, so you see it. You see this team respond, and some of that has to be attributed to Doc 100%. And look, OKC came into the Fiserv Forum, and like many teams that are going to come after them, they're not going to be the only one. Basically, tonight they came out, they got their shoes, coat, and their hat taken. Right, and that's just kind of how this thing works. Belt to ass, whatever you want to do. They walking down the street barefoot right now. Hey man, sir, can you help me with a little bit of gas money, bus money, whatever it is, right? Whatever, right? However they showed up, they didn't leave the same way, and that's the most important thing tonight. So it was really big win because again, Trey said before the show, this is the best team record-wise in the West, and the belt, and for the Bucks to come out and do this, definitely a good thing. And how many games we have after? We got 11 games left.
Is that it?
I'm pretty sure that's right. I think we got 11 games. We can't have more than 12. I'm 99% sure it's 11. We got 11 games.
They're 46 and 25. What's that?
71?
Yes, 11 games left in the 2023-2024 campaign for the regular season. So let's sit there for a second. With 11 games left in this season, I ask you guys this. I asked the chat this as well. Are the Milwaukee Bucks? Are they ready for the postseason right now? 11 games left. Do they still need any fine tuning? Are there still things that, like, what are these last 11 games going to show you about this basketball team? What do you need to see from the Bucks? Or do you feel like they're ready right now? Are they ready to go, or there's still some fine tuning needs to happen for the Bucks to be ready?
I think you could see Chris maybe gel a little bit more with Giannis and Dame getting back into that groove. Honestly, the big thing I want to see now is what are you going to do with Derry Bird, right? Like, what are you going to do with Derry Bird? I think he's going to be a very valuable piece off the bench. And so 100% figuring out his role, figuring out his consistency in the rotation. What role is he going to play? We talked about this, and we've said this before. Guys off the bench have to be able to contribute, right? And if you're and it's Derry Bird, AJ, Andre Jackson Jr. or Marjan, right? Derry Bird by far, I think, is your front runner to really help you out of that group. So I'd like to see that. And again, yeah, the consistency, right? And I think we certainly are getting there. I'm feeling more and more comfortable. I'm not quite ready to put my 401k on the Bucks making it to the finals at this point, but we're getting ready. I think we're getting there. I think what we're seeing is positive, and overall, I think the average Bucks fan is probably feeling very confident about this team right now.
So I think they are ready, and I'll tell you why. I think just the efforts, yeah, they haven't won a whole lot of games on the road under Doc Rivers, but I think the effort has really shown that they're at least capable of staying in games when they don't have their horses. And so you got to imagine what that looks like when everybody is healthy. When you talk about the Warriors game, when they were down 20 at half and they were able to bring it back, I know it ended up getting back out of hand, but a game like that, and then also the Boston Celtics without Giannis being able to stay in that game, stick around, and being able to put a fight up, yeah, look, I think that they're ready. And yes, I would like to see Giannis, Chris, and Dame out there a little more, but I think they're at a point now to where the effort and the defensive level is so consistent to this point that, look, even though they're going to have so many games going forward, Chris, Giannis, and Dame, I think they're going to be able to adjust to one another. Chris has been very humble about the situation since day one, it seems like. So I think they'll have no problem gelling. But, yeah, you're right. Maybe A.J. Green, we'll see how he can impact the game a little more as well. But, yeah, I'm excited. I do think that this team is ready right now.
Yeah, and I think the question when you talk about AJ Green, this is a good point you brought up, JT. The question when you talk about AJ Green is, yeah, he's clearly front runner between Marjan and Ajax don't have a chance of playing. The question is, how much time is he going to get? Like, how much time can he impede from Pat Connaughton and
Jay Crowder's at this level
guard
now.
group, right? Of Pat Connaughton, Jay Crowder, Malik Beasley. Those are the guys he's really competing for minutes and time with. I'm hoping obviously that he's going to have that time over. Like I don't think Gallinari should be in the equation at all. But yeah, that's going to be the question: is where does he fall? Of course, tonight AJ Green was out with they called it an illness, so he didn't play. But again, I was all set for like this epic battle between the Bucks and the Thunder, and the Bucks absolutely dominated. So it was very good to see. Let's go to the Twitter at Live from Carolina. Says good game tonight from you guys. New Doc was going to turn it around. Rated R Noob, Justin from NC says Chris's triple-double was awesome. This is absolutely needed. Giannis is his own adjective. And if he's not the MVP, then who? The defense on SGA was spot on. Dame was off, and we still won by a ton. What a day to be from the 414 and be a basketball fan. That Marquette Bucks connection. Yeah, we'll talk about Marquette in a little bit too, as they dance on to the Sweet 16. At Drew Barron just says dominated the 1 seed in the West with Chris and Dame combining for just 22 points. Shows why Giannis is the most dominant player in the NBA. Maybe the best bench game of the season as well. At Jake Nelson 10 says the Bucks did it with defense tonight. Relentless defensive effort and focus really made the number 1 seed in the West uncomfortable. The Bucks didn't shoot it very well in the first half, but the defensive energy got the offense rolling in the third. 7 players in double figures tonight. At Local Deer in great mood says Chris Milton is invaluable to the team, and we'll do one more. At Prama True says we have humiliated most of the contenders. This is one of the few years where we're actually playing good against good teams instead of just beating the shitty ones. So again, good to see 118-93 the Bucks beat the Thunder. Listen, we've talked about it, but one more time, I want to key in before we get to game balls on the Bucks defensive effort. JT, Chris, what are you seeing? Why have the Bucks been so good? I mean, you talk about tonight or just as a whole collectively since, let's say for the most part, since the break.
Well, I'll tell you, right. The first thing has been that communication, right? We talked about Pat Beverly, but other guys communicating out there on the court. You definitely have seen that difference since he's had his presence in the building. Second thing is I think when you talk about defensively, I don't think it's the guys you're expecting good defense from. I think it's the guys you're not, right? For example, Bobby Portis. We talked about this the entire time. We talked about how Bobby Portis had at times become unplayable for the Bucks in the entire series because he just didn't give you anything on defense. And if he wasn't hitting shots, it just wasn't worth having him out there. I don't think that's going to be the case this year. I think Chris echoed that sentiment before. I don't think it's going to be the case this year. I think Bobby Portis has become not a great defender, right, but a competent defender, at least for stretches of time. And that's just a completely different look that we've not seen from him since he's been with Milwaukee. And then again, you got Dame, who effort, right? Dame is putting forth that effort and that energy. You got Beasley. You have guys stepping up and trying to make plays defensively. And quite honestly, I think that works, right? I think that's all you can ask for from some of these guys, and you're getting that.
So I think also, yeah, I agree with the effort and intensity and just the care from this defense. But also what I saw today from just an adjustment standpoint, the blitzing on the pick and rolls was huge. Like, this was a situation earlier on in the season where we didn't think that they had a good enough pick and roll defense. The guys on the perimeter weren't doing their job. They were letting the guards get off, and then Brook sometimes in that drop coverage wasn't as good. Tonight, they took away Shea, number one. That was huge. But then Jalen Williams, who's been playing at a huge level all season, he's been like really making that big step up. And they blitzed him. They made him uncomfortable. He did get, 18, something like that. But still, like he was their second option, and he is their second option, I feel like. And they did a good job of at least making him uncomfortable and not allowing him to get into the 20s. And so, yeah, they did a good job with that. I think that's a real testament to Doc Rivers just making that adjustment and figuring out what the root cause of some of these defensive problems were, because now I think you have a ton of looks to throw at teams when you get into the playoffs.
Yeah, a great points. And I'll go back to the fly switching that I talked about earlier, where again, you're having the Bucks, you talk about the adjustment. The Bucks had a problem keeping guys in front of them. They just couldn't guard. Malik Beasley guys, poop, right by him. Well, again, if you're in a position where you're fly switching, where if Malik Beasley, the guy is getting by me, I'm gonna get help defense. Well, what can happen sometimes, you get the help defense, it turns almost into a double team, and you just kick the ball out to whoever's open or whoever that guy came from for the help. Well, the Bucks, again, what they're starting to do now, and what they're doing very well, and this is where JT, you talk about communication comes into play, is that's the guy starts to drive by, the offensive player starts to drive by, you get that defender to pick him up, and then the guy who was originally guarding him now just takes on the guy who he just came from. So everybody's accounted for. You're switching well, and then like you said, and that may make Bobby Portis being a mismatch. But Bobby Portis, to your point, JT, and Chris, he's playing better defense, moving his feet. I can't remember who the possession was on, but it was on somebody who wasn't like a who wasn't slow or anything like that. And Bob, it's just, hey, can you slide your feet enough? I know you're not going to be able to, totally stop somebody, but can you make them take a contested 2 over you? You're 6'10". Can you make them take a contested 2 over your outstretched hand? If they do that, I clap you up, tip your cap, and go back down the floor. That's what you want them to do, and I think the Bucks did a lot of that tonight. And again, you solved the problem of guys just running by people. Because you made those switches, and now it helps. And again, I thought tonight Brook Lopez only 23 minutes tonight. I didn't know how he was going to react or how he was going to be able to play, because you would think a guy like Chet Holmgren could bring him out to the perimeter and hit shots on him. But Chet didn't play a good game. So the Bucks, again, just overall best defensive effort of the season, best defensive game of the season. I believe this is the lowest percentage that Oklahoma City has shot all year long. So again, credit to the Buck, credit to Doc Rivers for doing that and making it hard for Oklahoma City, especially their stars. So again, real good thing to see. Eli J says he needs to see the big three play together more. Green Ranger says, I think the biggest thing I noticed about the Bucks against good teams is our shot quality does not change. Giannis and Dame leave the defense with few options. You either give up open looks. I think that is, or you play Dame and Giannis one-on-one. I agree with that. The Bucks typically, their shot selection is good outside of the only time I say the shot selection is bad is when Brook Lopez jacks up a 3 that you don't really need him to shoot at that point in time. And then sometimes I think that again, we talked about before Bobby Portis, because sometimes he just gets the ball and like I gotta shoot it. It's time for me to go to work. And I really think we've seen some of these lineups. I think the best lineup for that bench unit is really Damian Lillard, and then bench guy. When you have that bench unit out there, is Dame and the bench, and he can just control and do whatever he wants to do. I like that better, in particular than Chris Middleton in the bench, which is how Adrian Griffin did it early in the season. So I think that's what I'd like to see, and I think you get those same shot quality looks, and you get Damian Lillard running offense where he doesn't have to worry about other guys touching it if he doesn't want to. So, okay.
No, you hit it on the head.
Yeah.
No, okay. So we'll go to like I said, we've covered everything here. Let's go to game balls here. Who are you giving the game ball to tonight?
Man, Chris Middleton. Chris Middleton, right? And I'm not giving Chris Middleton the game ball for just tonight. I'm giving Chris Middleton really the game ball for obviously triple-double, beautiful, right? I think it's his first time since, 2019? Is that right?
Yeah, second career triple-double.
Second career, right? So not just that, but for the last week, for coming back, for missing 16 straight games, for coming back and really not missing a beat and just coming back and contributing night in and night out. Yeah, I'm going to get his thing to Chris, man. And, really excited to have him back in the fold and have him back in the lineup.
I'm going to give it to Pfizer Forum tonight. Okay. I think 6 straight victories at home is really telling that the fans have been showing up, showing out, really supporting this squad. There was an instance where, I don't know if they did this all season, but the fans are really into it because the PA announcer goes, "What time is it?" And everybody goes, "Dame time," in the fourth quarter when he hit a shot. It's just little things like that. Like, you can tell the crowd is engaged, involved, and really supporting this team throughout what has been I guess you could say a tumultuous season here and there with the firing of Adrian Griffin and just some of the injuries that's been going on. And so, the Bucks make it easy on them to support, and they make it easy on the Bucks to get the home wins and get the job done.
J1 wants the game ball to go to the Bucks defense. I'm gonna get a game ball, which again you can make that case. I don't think you're wrong at all. I'm gonna give it to Giannis though. I mean, 30 and 19, not so much for the 30 points, but the 19 rebounds. Like, again, the Bucks, we talked about this before. Rebounding the basketball has been sometimes an issue for the Bucks, giving up offensive rebounds, not being able to get on the glass and finish out possessions. Because, again, Chris, when is the defensive possession in? When you get the rebound. The defense, you can play great defense for the entire possession. If the offense gets the rebound, you have not finished your possession. So you got to play great defense through the rebound. And the Bucks did that tonight. They have 57 rebounds to Oklahoma City's 37. So a 20-point difference in rebounding. 19 of those went to Giannis, including 8 offensive rebounds for Giannis and 11 defensive rebounds. He was all over the glass tonight. So, again, it's 30 points. He always put up 30, but he gives you 19 rebounds to go with it. And, again, I enjoyed what I saw from GA. And, again, good stuff all the way around from the Milwaukee Bucks, who win it 118-93. Good stuff, fellas. We went through that pretty quickly. Let's do a look around into the NBA. Bucks get the win. Pacers and Lakers are going at it right now. Pacers up by 5 on the Lakers. The Pelicans are 44-27. John Tyus, your boy Zion Williamson put up 36 on 13 of 14 shooting tonight. So a real good night for Zion, who looks a little. They say he's lost 25 pounds. You hear that? He lost 25 pounds.
Yeah, he looks like it too. He looks like
put some respect on Zion's name, right? He started laying off the Baynets, right? The Baynets.
He's not eating the whole table this time,
right?
That's what Stephen A. said.
Right. Yeah. Everything ain't fried in that diet. I'm already knowing. Listen,
Are y'all giving Stephen A. credit for getting him for calling him out publicly? Do you think Stephen A. should get some credit for that?
No, what I think it is because it's not just Stephen A. It was probably so many people that was on that man's head, right? And I think he probably.
I didn't say nothing.
I didn't say nothing. And he probably just started leaving Mariah Mills and Co. alone and all these other folks. And I think he's getting his mind right? He's getting focused. So. Fine. If you want to give Stephen A. some credit, fine. But I mean, I think everybody was really all over that man about his weight. And to be fair, I spent a weekend in New Orleans and probably I had gained 7 to 9 pounds. I spent a week, I spent 4 days in New Orleans. It was like, oh my God, I can't do this anymore. It was crazy. It's the best food of my life, man. But it was just, it was rough. So I can only imagine what he down there going through.
I know with the injuries, it was probably definitely hard for him to keep that diet in check or just be able to lose the weight, the extra weight, because you're hurt. You can't really work out as much, especially lower body injuries. But I'm just so astonished that they let it get to that point. I mean, being that professional, you probably have a chef, stuff like that, being that organization. I'm surprised they waited so long for this to actually take action. But, hey, it's good to see that he's actually doing it, and he looks a lot better when he's at that playing weight.
Yeah, no, absolutely. He looks much better. So, again, I give whoever's responsible for it, give him a lot of credit for getting him right. The Clippers lose tonight, 121-107 to the 76ers. Apparently, James Harden left, did not talk with reporters. He left early. I think he said he left while Ty Lue was doing his press conference. So again, it sounds like there may be some trouble over there in LA for the Clippers. Again, they're losing some games. We thought they were going to get it together, but they haven't. The Cavs lose another one, which is good for the Milwaukee Bucks in that 2 seed, 121-84 to the Miami Heat. Again, no Donovan Mitchell for a minute. They got blown out. And then the Golden State Warriors lose to the Timberwolves. And I'll tell you why this is important, because the Golden State Warriors are right now 1 game ahead of the surging Houston Rockets. Again, shout out to Ime Udoka. The Rockets are 9-1 in the last 10. They've won 8 games in a row. And the Rockets have made this a battle. Golden State is now 1 game ahead of Houston for the last and final play-in spot. If this trend continues, not only will Golden State not make the playoffs, they won't even have a chance to make the play-in. Again, they're 1 game ahead of Houston. Like I said, probably 11, 10 games to go for all those teams. So we'll see how that plays out with Houston and Golden State. But again, it'll be very interesting, especially to see how Golden State played so well when Draymond got back into the lineup, and then they may not. I think again, if you're the league, you got to hate this, because right now you're setting up. If you're the NBA, you're setting up for an LA Golden State loser goes home play-in scenario, and Ime Udoka and the Houston Rockets can spoil all of that. I think everybody wants to see that. Personally, I want to see it, but again, you got to give Ime Udoka credit for getting the Houston Rockets right and trying to win some basketball games.
Well, I'd also give them credit just being able to get Fred VanVleet, getting those guys in the offseason, Dylan Brooks, who, he's a good player. Like, I don't know about the antics all the time, but the product he puts out on the court isn't all that bad. And then just the development of Jalen Green, the development of Jabari Smith, and those guys. And I don't know, is Şengün, is he done?
I'm not sure.
I saw the injury that one time. He left on the wheelchair. But, yeah, regardless, I mean, they did a good job developing him, too. I don't think they have him for the rest of the season, probably. You can fact check it. But, leaving that,
I'll
yeah.
check.
But, still, the development and what they've been able to do in the quick turnaround. And, look, at this point, when you introduce the play-in, there's only so many bad teams that get left out. So one of those teams is going to surge. And, with Ja being out with Memphis and some of the underperformings like San Antonio, there's some spots open. So I can't say I'm totally surprised after the moves that they made in the offseason.
So just so we know, on Şengün, they're saying there's a very real chance it could come down to late in the regular season if it makes sense to bring him back. He avoided a major injury but does have a significant sprain. And I guess the word is that they assumed he'd be done for the season because the Rockets wouldn't have anything to play for. However, with their recent surge, like I said, it sounds like if they have an opportunity to get into the play-in, or a couple games left in the season and they need him to potentially get in that play-in race, sounds like he may be able to be available for that. So good for him. And again, I talk junk about the play-in, but if it makes teams be more competitive and play their guys later into the season instead of shutting people down when they can play, because again, and I will say this, I think it's crap that 20 teams make the playoffs technically, but again, Miami came from the play-in last year and got to the NBA Finals. So the Lakers got to the West Conference Finals from the play-in position, I believe, or were they a 6th seed? Maybe they weren't. The Lakers were in the play-in game, right? Well, I think were they in the play-in games? I think so. Okay, so so you saw 2 teams from the play-in make it deep into either the conference finals or the finals. So again, it's good stuff from those teams and trying to get there. Let's see. Where I guys want to y'all want to talk a little college basketball?
Yeah, we can do it.
We can talk a little bit about our listeners' brackets, if everybody's brackets aren't busted at this point. Which mine's still in pretty good shape. So
mine's not. I mean, college basketball has been good. I think it's certainly taken some eyes off of the March NBA. It's certainly put a little dent in our view. No, I'm just kidding. But no, yeah, it's been fun. It's been super fun to watch. I think obviously your 1 seeds are all still in, and they're playing at a high level this year. They're not really showing that they could be going out early. You saw Purdue put the beating on Utah State today. I don't know what the Houston score is right now.
Houston is up 59-53 with 9 minutes to play.
Okay, so they'll probably close that. They'll probably close that one out, but they look good. And then UConn.
Hey, speaking of that, Chris, there's been a lot of discussion. Is Zach Edey? Is he an NBA player? Is he? I don't think he. I don't think he is. I watched.
I don't see it.
let me say this. I think he could be a backup NBA big, giving you 10, 15 minutes a night tops, and that to me is his ceiling. I just
He
don't
makes his free throws. I mean,
He does.
like
He does.
I think you certainly, I mean, he can be on an NBA roster and get minutes. Like, I don't think that he's a guy like a Luka Garza who's going to be sent down to a two-way contract right away. I think that there's some real value he can bring to a team. Look, if he was on the OKC Thunder, you might have a little bit of a different team. I do think he can step into maybe a young team or a team that just needs him off the bench and they can bring him in and he can play. I think he is ultimately crafting a role for himself into the league just because he's so aggressive, man. Like, that dude, obviously he's not playing to the caliber players that you'll see in the NBA, but just being at that height advantage, you're not smaller than anybody really, unless I guess Wemby kind of stacks up with him. But even then, you got about 200 pounds on Wemby. So, like, I do think that he has carved himself and played a good enough career to where he can help an NBA team. But do I see him really sticking around long, or do I see him being an all-star caliber player? Hell no. So, I do think he'll be an NBA player, though.
He just got one of those guys where he like changes his entire mindset because the way he gets points now, Purdue, they just dump down to him, and nobody's dumping the ball down to you on every possession.
Yeah, he'll be good on the glass though, right? Like, he'll be the guy who is just aggressive and is able to find his points and finds opportunities to score, and that's what he does in college as well. So he's working the offensive boards a lot and working the defensive boards. He'll bring real value, but where I will say you'll make a mistake is taking him in the first round. There's just no way in hell. There's just I mean I've seen him mocked there, so that's the thing. Like, there's just no way in hell he is a first round draft pick. You would be it's in your best interest to go take him late in the second or maybe early in the second if you really need size. But other than that, like, yeah, he'll be able to carve a role, but it's just not to the extent people may be making him out to be.
So basically, if I hear you correctly, he'll be in the league maybe a couple of years, and then he'll be playing and insert whatever random Eastern European country you can think of.
Get ready to learn Chinese, buddy.
Right. Or, playing in Serbia, playing in a place where you got, I am good. No, look, I think he's very good for the college game, but I agree. The issue I have with him is if you look at the big men in the NBA now, the traditional big men, I just don't. Who is he not overwhelmed by, right? Like who? I mean, Embiid, Giannis, my man out in Denver, Jokic, right? Anybody. I mean, who is he not absolutely fried by? I just feel like he becomes a liability on the floor against any of those guys. And the other issue is he can't shoot. Like,
he can step out with the mid range though. That's a part of his game I think is a little underrated. But I also think with Zach Edey, his problem is going to be when people attack him with the switch, how will he be able to defend on the perimeter? I saw this kid from Grambling absolutely frying him because he wouldn't step up out. He wouldn't step up out on the mid range, and he wouldn't step out on the perimeter, and so they're just shooting way over him. So that's his main issue. But yeah, like they said, the draft isn't that loaded, but I still think you make a mistake taking him in the first round.
Yeah, I know some Bucks people who think that he should play, that he's like the Brook Lopez replacement. I'm like,
it can't be. It can't be. You can't pair him up with Giannis. Two guys that just can't shoot the three.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just not going to work that way. I would see if you find a stretch big, then you could do it. But nah, man, that's not it.
Yeah, I'm not with it. But hey, and then we got to talk about your boys. What happened? What happened to Dayton Flyers? What happened to Dayton Flyers?
I ain't even. Listen, man.
Okay.
There was a bet that was made on air. We can't not talk about it.
Right. I did a one-sided bet to Chris. Right. It was $100 if Dayton could beat Arizona.
You should have had to make him wear an Arizona shirt on the show. You should have had it.
I might. Right. I might. You know what? Yeah, you're right. I might get his.
I'll do that. Okay. I'll do that. I will do that.
Right.
Hey, I have nothing against them.
I mean, listen, man, and I ain't got nothing against Dayton either, right? Quite honestly, Arizona's going to play Clemson, so they go and belt the ass against Clemson. This Clemson team, Clemson plays their best, Arizona plays their best. There's Clemson that have a chance in hell, right? So yeah, this Arizona team is going to skate to the Elite Eight. Most likely, this Marquette team is going to beat the NC State. They're going to skate to the Elite Eight too, right?
NC
Hold
State
I
on
looking
now,
think.
good.
hold on
Yeah,
now.
hold on. What we
Hey,
holding
hey,
on for?
DJ Burns is like that
Hey,
now.
them
Don't
edits
sleep
that
on
they
DJ.
make on him is hilarious. I just want to point that out. The
Hey,
edits are because he's a great he has footwork that is really damn good, and like he has a ton of highlight plays. It's like, yeah, that's dope. And so like they put it in the edits. It's funny.
I just want to point that you said that they're going to the Marquette. And again, I'm not Marquette Law School alone. You saying that they're going to skate to the Elite Eight? I don't
I
know
think
about
Marquette
that.
skates to the Elite Eight. And the
I
reason why I think Marquette skates to the Elite Eight is, listen, when they turn up the intensity and that aggression on defense, right, and that team is running that whole time, especially when they're on offense too, so they're gonna gas out. That's what I thought was going to happen against Colorado today. Is Colorado was going to gas out. Colorado stuck around a little longer than I thought they would, right? But maybe that's because they train at altitude. I don't know, but either way, I just don't see it, right? I think Marquette has way too many weapons for NC State to slow them down offensively, and then defensively, I mean, I guess, man, you're right. This might, I would be happy if NC State could cover the spread.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think they're good. And then of course, you know, we're not on 97.3. We don't have any affiliation with Wisconsin on this program. So feel free to fire off on Greg Gard over there with Wisconsin. What's up? Should he be done? That was him because that was embarrassing. That was embarrassing.
Yeah.
That was embarrassing. No
way. And with what James Madison couldn't do against Duke tonight, really makes you think. It puts it in perspective.
Right.
Well, and we had a listener call in and say that the reality of it is that there wasn't another way to describe the performance against JMU as unprepared, right? Unprepared, undercoached, right? It was a whole lot. And when you saw how well that Wisconsin team played in the Big Ten tournament, again, earlier this year, this was a team that was 6th in the country, right? And then they had some ups and downs, the peaks and valleys, right? And the valleys were pretty low, but to watch them turn around and kind of get this thing back in the conference in the conference tournament and make it to the conference championship game, then to get out there and absolutely stink, right? Like soil their pants 2 minutes before showtime. I mean, it just was kind of one of those things where it was embarrassing. And you know, I keep reading now, Wisconsin has a huge NIL budget, right? So they have huge NIL budget. They have resources. They have everything. It's an attractive school to where talent would want to come. I'm not sure that the Bo Ryan culture, it's done at this point, right? The Bo Ryan culture is done. Just like the football team had to evolve and realize, listen, we got to get we got to switch some things up. We can't just focus on the hog mollies in the middle. We got to get athletes, right? The football team had this great reckoning, right? You know, when you fire Paul Chris and you bring in Luke Fickell, the basketball program, it might be time for that as well, because Greg Gard, listen, he's not Bo Ryan. You can't keep doing the Bo Ryan thing. I think his most successful years were the first 2 years after he replaced Bo Ryan. I mean, they were in the NIT last year, right? Wisconsin was in the NIT in 2023, and then it'd be first round out this year. Nah, man.
Well, you know, it's funny because I saw somebody on Twitter basically said that Wisconsin is now, and again, I think forever they felt themselves as the big brother to Marquette, and you know, they are now find themselves if they fire Gard, I mean, almost chasing Marquette in type of, you know, as far as a hire, because Marquette has, you know, Marquette, you got Shaka Smart, you know, you look like you are trying to keep up with your in-state rival and the Marquette Golden Eagles, and yeah, I mean, what do you? I don't see how you don't. I don't see how you don't get rid of it, because again, you cannot be embarrassed like that in the first round. You Wisconsin Badgers. You gotta have a little more pride in that as a university.
Well, and I think you make a great point there, Trey, because this is a Wisconsin team who beat Marquette.
Yep.
And then so for you not to go and match that level that Marquette plays at in the postseason, it's telling. It's telling that you can't maintain a level of consistency that you should have at a program like Wisconsin. Look, 7 years without making the second weekend is just absurd for that program. Like 608 UW asked me who I think is going to go further, Dayton and Wisconsin. And even I said Wisconsin, and I was wrong. Dayton won a first-round matchup versus a 10-seed Nevada, who came out of a really good conference in the Mountain West, who got 6 teams in. Like this wasn't a game where you had the leisure to just lose. Like you didn't have that kind of leash to lose against the James Madison team, who ends up getting blown out the next round to Duke. Mark Byington coached circles around Greg Gard in that game. The sets were just unbelievable. They were totally confused on what to do for defense. They weren't prepared at all. They couldn't withstand the athleticism of this James Madison team. And this has been 4 straight years of that same core with Chucky Hepburn, Tyler Wall, Stephen Crow, and all those guys. And they haven't won anything. So I asked JT, I was like, what's the definition of insanity? We talk about it all the time. Doing the same thing over and expecting a different result. Well, you didn't get it. You made one adjustment by grabbing A.J. Storr, who proved to be good for you, but who else was there? Who else was there in the offseason that you could have grabbed that could have maybe changed the outcome of this game? Because when Storr didn't have it, nobody stepped up except for Klesmit, and he didn't even really shoot it all that well. He just made a couple threes in the second half that kept it at least respectable, and they still lost by double digits. So I am a little upset with Greg Gard's direction of this program because you think about how good that they've been historically, and you should expect better as a Wisconsin basketball fan. You should expect to get to the Sweet 16. You should expect to not have a bad February and play yourself out of a 3 seed so that you don't get a James Madison in that second or in that first round matchup, right? So it's top to bottom. I think the personnel also needs to look who they recruit, the type of players that they get on the interior, because James Madison was full of athletes who were way more physical, that just outplayed those guys who had been there for 3-4 years. It starts top to bottom, though. I would say you got to get rid of them.
And you can see, the sad part about this though, right, is that Greg Gard, right, you come in and you replace Bo Ryan. This team is nowhere near as good as the team Bo Ryan right now. So to put it in historical perspective, so I think Bo Ryan was at Wisconsin. He got there like 97, 98, right, sometime around there. That program had only made the NCAA tournament like 5 times, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 times before he got there. Period. Right. So that goes to tell you how terrible the program was, notwithstanding the fact that there was a national championship in the 1940s that Wisconsin basketball won. And so when you look at a guy like Bo Ryan, right, who goes 14 trips, 4 Sweet 16s, an Elite 8, 2 Final Fours, a national championship game appearance. You see what he did to a school like Wisconsin, right, in Middle America, where they had their brand and they always had these athletic bigs. And then you just watch Greg Gard, who a lot of people would say run the program into the ground. I don't see how you sign up for this another year. And quite honestly, I think your recruiting is about to take a hit, because I think recruits going to be like, man, it's cool and all, but that dude's not going to be there, right? Chances are he's going to be fired in a year. I need to go somewhere where there's a bit more stability. I need to go somewhere where there's a bit more of a culture that works.
Yeah, no, I'm with there I'm with you guys on all of that. So again, good stuff coming through. We'll see, kind of like I said, how this continues to take place as we march into like I said, those Sweet 16 matchups that will come up. I think we'll do this maybe Tuesday night. Talk about, because Shohei Ohtani is going to meet with reporters on Monday. We'll talk about the gambling situation that's going on, and I'm sure Pete Rose will be watching intently to see how that is handled with him. But yeah, we'll talk about that after he talks to reporters on Tuesday night. Any final words from you guys after a 118-93 victory? The Bucks beat down the Oklahoma City Thunder tonight in Milwaukee.
Belt to ass. I'm here for it.
Yeah, they're doing a good job. They're playing good team basketball. They're defending at a high level. They're doing all the things we want to see, especially creeping up towards playoff time with limited games left and Chris finally getting back out there with the big 3. So just looking for them to continue this home success against the Lakers team that you ultimately shouldn't have dropped that 1-2 last time. And then also just shout out to the Arizona Wildcats. They put on a good performance. This will be my last time talking about the Dayton Flyers. I'm fully locked on Bucks, right? Here, I'm fully locked on Bucks until this season ends. So I'm excited to keep watching the NBA, keep watching our Milwaukee Bucks, and shout out to Dayton Flyers. They put up a good fight. I'm pretty satisfied with the way it went. Wish they could have kept playing, but it is what it is.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The Bucks, I think tonight was just one of those nights where, you putting these markers out, you putting these flyers out to see, what they're going to look like and how they're going to respond and how they're going to perform. And they passed the test with flying colors tonight. And they got to keep it going. Like you said, JT, there's 11 games left in the season. I didn't realize it was that few, so there's not much time to gel, if any, with the remaining games that are coming up. But you want to see good performances. I don't know what the rest situation will look like down the stretch in these games, whether or not they will give some guys some time off. Giannis just basically took a week off. Don't know how severe his injury was. Maybe they'll give Dame some time. I don't know. I'm of the mindset they should play together a little bit more and continue to gel going into the playoffs, because Dame, Giannis, and Chris have now, I think this is their 4th or 5th game maybe they played together under Doc Rivers. So, I still think they need that time. And you saw Chris tonight have 5 turnovers, didn't look very comfortable handling the ball early, did have 10 assists. So, again, you want to see all that improve from the Bucks. But, again, the main thing, holding your hat on this defensive effort. The Bucks can continue to do that over the next 11 games. I think they'll be in a great spot and a great situation. Bucks win it tonight. Very good win over the Oklahoma City Thunder, number 1 team in the West. They get the win, 118-93. Oh man, I just know the way John Hassell's in here saying that Beasley almost single-handedly lost the game. I have no idea what he's talking about. At this point, it's just a. Okay, this guy, he's got to be trolling. Okay, I'm gonna let this slide. So yeah, at the end, good night for the Milwaukee Bucks. Listen, man, we appreciate everybody for watching and joining us tonight. Good audience as the Bucks beat the Thunder. Listen, man, we like all the likes, follows, subscribe. We appreciate it. Tell a friend. What do you say? What do you say, Chris? What you want me to do?
Tell a friend to tell a friend.
Tell a friend and tell a friend.
And your neighbor, and your dog, and your fish. All that.
Everybody sign up and subscribe, like everything coming out of the Cream City crossover. We want to thank our sponsors tonight. Of course, Law Office of Daley M. Johnson, giving you criminal defense off the court, 608-893-8370. Get out, my man. If you had whatever you were doing over the weekend, get it out your system. And when you wake up out that county jail, make that call to I don't know if y'all are listening to YouTube, but listen, if you are the relative of somebody who woke up in county jail, you tell them to call Daley M. Johnson, 608-893-8370. Yes, sir. What was I gonna say? This has been a Cream City Media Group production from the Guru, Trey Crosby III,
JT,
Chris King.
Back at it Tuesday night against the Los Angeles Lakers. Don't take no wood nickels. Courage.